Hey folks, how we all doing today? It's Ivan. Yeah, it's the only person that broadcasts on this channel, well, records and sends this out. So today, we're gonna work on the tower today. That's the game plan. Um, yeah, not much more than that. Oh, I'm falling. It's not like I have creative mode on or anything like that. So yes, I do. Ba -ba -ba. I don't know why I started humming that. I haven't seen Jurassic Park in a while. Wrong series. Actually, that's not a series, and I wouldn't even know what to do for that one. Right. So we just have to finish this wall, and unfortunately, this is the biggest pain in the neck because this one, I don't think I can draw straight up. Let me see. Can I? No. I can't press control and then drag it all the way up, unfortunately. Anyways, hope you're all doing fine. I'm doing fine. I'm not sure what would be easier, going all the way up and doing this, or because it really doesn't matter. I'm gonna have to do it anyways. The worst part about this is the fact that I have to the rotation. I don't think I can do it. No. Oh, wait. Oh yeah. Okay, so if I do E, okay, so E and Q rotate this thing, so that's gonna make things a little bit easier. I forgot about that. I've always hated it until now. And I think it's in medieval, Space Engineers, not Medieval Engineers. Well, we know it's in Medieval Engineers now, but I think it's also in Space Engineers, and I always hated that because I always used the insert home, page up, page down, and delete keys, and that was in a clockwise fashion because reasons. No! Daggone it. And I got another one to do after this. And I haven't even put the windows in. I'm not even doing windows right now. I'm just coming back to those later on. And it's going to be easier. I guarantee it. Why? Because I said so. Ugh. I got to do this many more times. And I'm half tempted to do the... Is that at an angle? Or is it a... let's see here. Yeah. I'm like, I don't wanna. So anyways, as we go up to the sky. Oh, apparently we're not going up to the sky. Come on, up. Up, I say. Ah! They're trying to go up. No! Why would you do this to me? What? Oh, my keys were on the wrong... That explains a lot. There we go. Apparently, I don't even have to hold... Like, I just pressed control once and it just went and did. So that... This makes life so much easier. I don't have to hold that all the time. And it's 2 more over. Boom. Boom. And up. And that's done. Then we gotta do this side. Oops. I forgot to do the control. And up. And up. And up. So I discovered a random factoid, or is it factoid? No, that can't be right. It's not right, at least. Meme on Imager. It was a whole list of various trivia I was like, oh, I should remember some of this for when I do this, and I had promptly forgot all about it. So there is no awesome trivia for this. There was a series I watched when I was heading out, waiting for the train to arrive at my house before waiting for the taxi to arrive to take me to the train to take me back home where the buffalo roam and the skies are not cloudy. No, anyways, we're not gonna do that. But it was all about comparing just the very basics of the Harry Potter movies versus the books, and what was roughly different for each of them. And they explained a lot of them were just for the sake of time. It still progressed the way in which they did it, progressed the plot a lot. It smoothed out the plot, otherwise it would have made the movies ungodly long, which as a Harry Potter fan I would have been totally fine sitting through all that. Very much like probably the Lord of the Rings people would have been fine if what was that one? There was some Hobbit that my friends keep talking about that's not in the movies. And I didn't find the movies all that entertaining. I'm sorry. In advance to anybody that's offended by that. My friends certainly do seem to be offended by this. But to me, the Hobbit died way too many times in the first movie, or at least should have died. I'm like, you know what? No. I'm done. Cue the Jerry Seinfeld meme. In any case. So, you know, they took out Peeves because it really wasn't necessary. It was a fun character to have around, certainly. But it wasn't needed. The ghost teacher, which I can't remember his name offhand, not needed to introduce their character. So they just had Professor McGonagall do it. Things of that nature. The one thing they struck on, and I don't recall what they decided or talked about, and that revolves around the blowing up of the Weasley house, which took me by surprise and disgruntled me a little bit. I'm like, okay, I can take taking things out of the movie. By the time that one came around, I'm like, yeah, I get it now. You can't do everything in the book in the movie, but don't add. Is I think exactly what I said in the movie theater as it's happening. I'm like, come on, guys, just don't add. Oh, and totally took me out of the moment. I'm like, why you do this to me? It was the same movie which they pretty much took away that, as I talked about in a previous episode, about the relationship that Harry and Ginny had. Ginny, not Jen A. And how disappointed I was that was not going to be discussed. Instead, we got the house being blown up and then being magically repaired for the wedding, which they didn't really. I didn't think they fully adequately explained how that all worked out. Which was a simple thing they could have done at the end, I think. Now, granted, maybe they did, and I was just completely checked out of the movie by, I think it was the end of, that's a regular, the Goblet of Fire. Which, Little trivia for you. The first book I can remember throwing because of what had just happened. Back in the day, little Ivan, well, not so little, I was pretty big at that point, was reading up in the top of his bunk, and reading away, and I'm sitting there. It's at in the Goblet of Fire, at the scene where Voldemort is about to come back, and they're going through the entire spell and what's needed, and the whole time I'm going, please don't work, 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 come on. Every movie, every book so far, something happens that stops Voldemort from coming back. All of a sudden he came back, and I threw the book across my bed, and it thumped against the wall, and I just stood there going, in shell shock that Voldemort was back. Literally just angry, upset, and just not happy about the situation at all. And it took me a few minutes to grab the book back. I'm like, just sitting there shell shocked as to what I just read. I'm like, no. That dude can't come back. He's evil. Evil people aren't never supposed to win. And, oh man, I finally got up the courage to grab it again. And I can't remember if I threw it a second time or not. I might have thrown it a second time during that whole part of the story. Just the whole idea was just so unnerving for me that I had to throw the book away from me because it was that upsetting. And there we go. So that was my story regarding that. Oh man, it was fun times indeed. And how did I skip this part? I mean, really, it was right there in front of me. So, there we go. Ooh. Right now I'm doing this without my headphones on, so I'm painfully aware of the key clicking that normally is silent, and which is not bad for me because in the sense that when I'm typing, I love hearing the keys click, but when it's just, you know, sporadic touchings of the thing to move my character around, I'm like, ugh. If anybody's wondering what kind of keyboard I have, it's a mechanical keyboard, and I won't go back. I tried using my parents' keyboard over the previous week, and it was wretched. I don't know why. It just, the keys felt wrong. It just didn't feel very responsive, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Which is odd. But, okay. So, just going around. This is probably going to end up very much like the other tower, where it's not going to look perfect, but it's what I can do with the tools at my fingertips. And even these diagonal roofs, they're not in the game. This is a mod that I'm using. Hopefully I've got the mod in the description by now. It's one of those things where when I do that, it's a long process for me to do it, because I have to go into the game list, and then I have to look at every mod, and then I have to find the mod author, and then I try to arrange them in categories of in the mods in which they've created. So if somebody created, say, 3 mods that I'm using now, there's only, I believe, 13 being used at the moment. I have to go through and make sure that I credit them appropriately, because I enjoy their mods. I don't even think, as of the recording right now, all my things say list to be something. There it goes. List to be, I think, provided later or something like that. A lot of these mods I'm using in my single survival series, so you can look there and probably find them, except for the diagonal one. The roofs are from a mod that's considered obsolete, I think, by the author, but they still work, so I'm using them. I don't know if they're just obsolete for survival or what the deal is, but I'm using it. Let's see here. Not too bad. Not too bad at all, I suppose. All things considered. Take that one out and do this. There. Now I may come back and edit this so that I can do a proper interior for this. Again, it all depends on what the game can handle. This is a lot of blocks so far, and I'm not sure what the game will allow me to do. And so I'm trying to keep the game happy, essentially. And I don't want it to become unhappy, because I remember what happens when it gets to being unhappy. There was in the multiplayer that I was playing on, somebody had built a bridge. It was massive in scale, very cool. But when it broke, the entire server was completely unhappy forever. And that's a sad thing about it. Alright. There we go. Now, granted, that involves structural integrity and whatnot, but it was a lot of blocks that broke all of a sudden, and while structural integrity is off, there are a lot more blocks in this build, I believe, at this point, than there were in that build. I could be wrong, but maybe I'm wrong. There were a lot of blocks in that thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if I've gone past that limit, though. All things considered. So anyways. Well, speaking of books, because that story reminded me of other times that I was reading that different situations occurred. At one point in time, young Ivan procured a job as a call center rep. And at night, it would become very quiet for a while, especially around springtime. So I would bring a book to read. And it was right around the time that the Hunger Games books, or Hunger Game movies, had come out. And I didn't quite understand what was going on in the movies, so I picked up the books to find out. It was my fault to begin with. I did my typical wait pretty much until the movie is supposed to start and then actually leave from the movie theater, thereby missing all of the ads. And when I got in there, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, by the way. When I got in there, the young lady, whose name, Jennifer Lawrence, but is that right? Hold on, I don't want to screw this up. I know she was Mystique and all that. Yep, that's the one. Was surprised to find that. Oh, she's in that new. Is she starring in that new Mother movie? I'm not big on the movies, so I don't know what it is. That's all about. This is not an advertisement for that movie. Any case, I didn't understand what's going on, and it was just in time for her character, Katniss, to volunteer. I got just in time for her to volunteer for tribute, so I was late. But trying to mobilize when I was ready to go and to mobilize not one, but three teenage girls to move to the movies was a pain. I don't know what was going on, but my cousins wanted to see it, my sister wanted to see it, and therefore we went and saw it. Partially because I wanted to see it too. Who was it? Was it? I want to say somebody was really said it was a great movie to see. I'm trying to remember who that was. Oh, I guess I don't have to do this block thing like I was doing. Oopsies. In any case, so I picked, going back to the books because that was the purpose of the story, so picture this. At night, it's a decent size office floor, and when I mean there's I don't know 500 cubicles or something like that, maybe more, on this one floor. It was a single floor building, and I'm on the third book, and something really intense is happening. Without spoilers to what it was. If you haven't read that book yet, then you're welcome to that I didn't explain what was happening. But it's dead quiet in this place. Half the lights are off because actually 3/4 of the lights were off because there was only, I think, 5 of us and the call queue at that point. It was nearing 11 o'clock. Usually people don't usually call because it was middle of the month in the summer. And the only time that people would call it at night was when their rewards card was about to expire. And a lot of people got angry. It's like, well, we did tell you that that thing would expire at some point in time. Sometimes. I can't say that Mars store employees were exactly the best at telling people that information, but regardless, that's not my I'm getting off track again. So it's dead quiet. Nobody's talking because we're either, some of us, I kid you not, people would grab or get coloring books from the local dollar store, just to fend off boredom. It would be that quiet in there. And I'm reading this intense part of the book, and all of a sudden, for reference, the way that I would be notified that there was a call coming in is a beep. And I'm reading this intense part, and all of a sudden I hear dee. He flung the book down and said, "Thank you for calling this company. How may I help you?" Which is not the way in which you're supposed to produce that or say that. You're supposed to ask for their identification number for that, or order number first. And that really what that does is it just gives me time to let if they put the number into the system or the call log for the boot in. And but of course at the beginning I'm like reading that little part as I hear the beep. I just blurred that out, yelling into the phone. If that person ever were to listen to this, I'm sorry if I yelled into your ear. I was at that point, I'm too embarrassed to tell them that they had made me jump out of my skin. And that was while they were talking and explaining things, was calmly collecting my skin back up to put it back on. And that was the last call I got that night. I kid you not. And it just so happened to be during a very intense moment in that book. Which overall is not a bad book to read at all. I enjoyed some of it, but it can get very intense in the mental conversations that Katniss has. And it's just like, holy cow. How does your brain not just explode at this point? That's just way too much thinking. I mean, I think a lot, and that surpassed my level of just all the things that were going on in her head. I'm like, holy cow. It was just nuts to me. There we go. Overall, I did enjoy the books, and I thought the ending, which was, I didn't see the last movie, at least I didn't see it all the way through. But from what I understand, it held pretty true to how the ending was in the books, and I thought it was a very fitting ending, in my opinion. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil anything regarding that movie because that's pretty new. In comparison to Harry Potter, which is at this point, if you haven't seen either the movies or the books, it's past the point in which spoiler alerts really are necessary. But yeah. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It looks like the sun is getting to the point where it's going down. So I might have to mess with that. I think I can change that in the game save files without going into the sun settings, but I don't know how. And I'm a little afraid to do that because I might break this. There we go. We're nearing completion of the tower. Which is that's to me a milestone. And wow, there's a lot of pieces to this. Daggone it. I did it again. I'm not terribly upset with that, though. Because it didn't fall down and break a whole bunch of stuff. Which, you know, before I jinx myself, we're saving. There we go. Hogwarts is safe. For now. Alright. Oh. I'm gonna go to each corner real quick and do this. No! Bad! You go there. I don't know why I'm doing that for each corner, but it just seemed appropriate. There we go. For some reason that wasn't showing up. And this weird block here is there. And I'm not messing with it because knowing my luck, it would break something horribly. And I'm not about to do that. So, oh, here's a little trivia for you. Way back when they announced that they were gonna do, when they were going to produce the Harry Potter movies, I so wanted desperately, because I was roughly the right age, or not, well, no. I was a little too old at that point. I think, maybe. I'm trying to remember when the... Wait a minute. Harry Potter and... Oops. And these. – 2001. No, I could have probably passed for the right age if I wasn't at that point. And I desperately wanted to play Harry. And the disappointment on my face when I read the news. And she's only wanting English actors or something. It was something like that. English speaking actors or English accent. Yeah. Natural English actors and actresses for this. Just, my heart sunk. I'm like, but my dream. My dream. I could have been that one guy with been on that horse stage, whatever what's his face was on. It crushed me for a minute. I'm like, oh, I'm sad now. But then I got over it. I'm like, okay, fine. Especially after I realized that how long I would have to dedicate to doing that. That it wasn't just like a quick one and done. It was a long journey for those kids. And speaking of those kids, I remember the first interview I saw for Emma Watts, and the one thing that always stuck out to me, she was complaining about how, if I remember correctly, it was about some small kid was going to be biting her face off soon because there was a doll of her that was going to come out, I think alongside the movie. And I'm like, well, now I'm really glad that I don't have to deal with that. But she turned out pretty good in the movie, to be honest. Very true to the part, I believe. And except for the spew. Spew didn't get added in, and I am slightly disappointed, but at the same time I was relieved. Because that just went nowhere. It was one of those, like, you see your friend doing something semi-embarrassing, and you're like, no, please don't do that. And they're going to do it anyways because they feel that some cause, there's injustice that they must fight. Even if those people don't want, well, in this case it was even if those house elves don't want the clothes and such. I'm trying to think of it. Anything my friends ever did that was like that. I can't think of anything right now. I've had a few of my friends embarrass themselves on game forums in regards to something or another that was happening in their game, primarily World of Warcraft. I didn't get into it, but they got way into it and would yell and scream on the forums about this change or that change. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, that totally stinks, whatever that is. Let's see here. Alright, we're getting to the point where the roof's going to become squared, which is an unfortunate side effect of just not having a round building. Side note, we're getting close. Yay! This is a massive tower, by the way. Holy cow. I'm pleased with it. I know there is a spot, if we were to... Okay, so if we go type in Hogwarts model, there's a kit apparently I can buy. And we look over here, there is this little turret here that I can add at some point in time. Again, that will come later. That will be one of those fancy additions. Like the chimneys will be an addition later on. Oh, we're getting close. I'm excited. Because this is one step closer to the... not the main event, but definitely something that I've been looking forward to, which is creating the Great Hall. And I've been kind of purposely leaving it off because it's just something that's fantastic and needs to be done properly. But there it is. It's a little short, isn't it? Indeed. But it's about right, really. Yeah. I mean, if we look here, I did I matched up the windows as best as possible. It's actually not much taller than that. Oh dear. How about that? Okay, folks. Well, the tower's done in Medieval Engineers, and yeah, I could take some more creative liberties and shove that thing way up there in the sky, and no sexual pun or anything like that intended. The last thing I'm going to do before I close out is I'm going to get rid of this here. In my ongoing attempt to redo the all the sides in a wood tone, even though that the red stands out, I'm definitely going to do this in wood, just because of all of the pictures I've seen. This is the closest matching is this wood tile, with the exception of here, which I can't tell what that is. It seems almost flat. That's interesting. There's little pillars on the outside. I don't know if those are windows or not. But that's for another time. I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you got any questions or comments, the comment section's down below. Next time, we are either going to finish this correctly. Well, that might be just a footnote to anything else we're going to do. The towers here have to be completed. And over there, beyond the tower, is the Great Hall, which has to also be completed. And so that is pretty much the last big build, except for these towers here, that has to be completed. Everything else is over here, and it's not here yet. That thing's probably gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. It's definitely part of the build, but how I'm going to work on it, I don't know yet. We'll see. Definitely. A lot of landscaping is going to have to happen, especially around here. I'm really liking that now. I can't remember when I started recording, so I think I know. So if I do that, okay, it's been roughly, I would say about 40 minutes or so. Next time, the other thing we need to do, especially in here, is the pendulum for the clock that's not there. I am a little worried that the game's kind of freezing. I got these. Oh, you know what? Here's a marble floor. And if I look, that's not the right one. Well, there seems to be a clock in there. But the map shown had the pendulum somewhere else. That was my intention. So we're definitely going to put the pendulum... If it's in the wrong place, let me know. And I can see about correcting that. Yeah, this shows potentially a pendulum there. Oh, fiddlesticks. Where does it go? It's definitely what looks to be a clock there. Right, so what I was going to do is very simply, I say, will that fit? Oh. Too bad this isn't a square. That would be fantastic. It would fit too, wouldn't it? So instead, there. For the time being. When in doubt, just put something else there. That'll be fine. Actually, 1, 2, 3. Is there anything else I can put? That would look a little bit better. Not really. I mean, I could put spacers in between, but it would look silly, I think. I'll show it off real quick. What I'm talking about. So if I did this and then so that there we go. Get away from me. Nope. Alright, so I just messed that up. Daggone it. Let's try this again. All right. If we flip it up on its end, yeah, it doesn't even... If I got rid of those two blocks, oh, that might actually work. Let's do that. Boom! Sort of. I don't like it. Oh dear. I think... Could I do... Well, that fits. I wonder. We'll leave it like that. That actually doesn't look too bad. And then we'll do... I know it was supposed to be just a joke last time, but I think that in the middle will... It kind of gives it some validity. Not too much, but... you know, I don't mind it. Anyways, so thank you guys again for watching. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you got any questions, comments, comment sections down below. Don't forget I have a Twitter account which you can follow me from, especially in this time of Apocalypse 1.5 or something to that effect. I'm afraid that people are my content, it may be restricted or classified as restricted, and therefore anybody that's that has their accounts set up to be restricted may not see my content at all because of that. I know some of my stuff doesn't show up in the restricted mode, even though I've said, hey, YouTube, but why? And they're like, I don't know. Really, that's the response. I don't know. A lot of times. And I hope I'm not going against any terms or agreement with that. And anyways, they used to be a lot more helpful. I don't know. Oh, I'm doing more work when I shouldn't. It's an addiction I gotta put down. Ivan, put it down. Put it down. Alright. See you guys later. Bye.